Hey everybody, and welcome to another Konoha Reviews. Today we take a look at the successful Kickstarter project that brought us the highly acclaimed Night in the Woods. Night in the Woods is exactly one of those games that is the reason why I made the Konoha Reviews channel. The regular Konoha channel started out as a Let's Play channel, and it just so happens that my taste varies greatly in games, probably more than most people that are into games. I can enjoy anything from a military first-person shooter like Call of Duty to a lengthy Japanese RPG like Final Fantasy, and even get lost in something beautiful like the indie game Inside, or just a simple platformer like A Hat in Time or Mario. But because of that, certain Let's Plays did not really work well with my core audience, which in general likes military games or Star Wars games more. Doing a series of multiple episodes of an indie game that did not stand within the taste of the audience could be devastating for views. But of course, I still wanted to play those certain games and share my thoughts. Which is where the Konoha Reviews channel comes in, since here, I can simply do one review episode, and if people don't find the game that interesting, they can just choose to skip this particular episode and wait for the next review of a different game that's more to their liking, instead of having to wait for multiple days or sometimes weeks until I finish the Let's Play series of this game that they are not into. Everybody wins. So I did not know anything about Night in the Woods other than that it would be comparable to an adventure or point and click that a mystery needs to be solved. The story in Night in the Woods follows the cat May, a 20-year-old who dropped out of college and returns to her hometown. Over the following weeks, you try to pick up where you left off before you left town and try to reconnect with all your friends, family members, and other people in the town, and at the same time, solve a murder mystery, but I will talk about that more later in the review. The game has a day and night cycle, though not in real time, where you go out to explore the town during the day. There are several activities to do and a whole bunch of animals to talk to. The dialogue is sharp and very well written. It's definitely not a game for young kids, but also is not adult in the sense that something like Happy Tree Friends is. Topics of anxiety, child abuse, homosexuality, domestic violence, losing one's parents, being bipolar, and more pass through. I would say that this is a perfect game for teens and older, since they are at the age where most first get to think and discuss about some of these topics. May will run into a bunch of characters that you will get familiar with, and they are all written incredibly well. Whether it's your best buddy Greg, who is a leather jacket wearing fox that loves to do petty crimes, or his serious boyfriend Angus, a quiet creature that has had a difficult life in the past as well, but ultimately is the glue that holds the friends group together. Or B, the goth crocodile that has to cope with running a store after her mother has passed away from cancer, leaving her father to suffer a breakdown. During the day, you can visit each of these characters and more, and during the night, you often will go on some shenanigans with one of them. You have the choice of who to spend the night with. I always switch between B and Greg every other night, but I can now say, though, that Greg's situations are a lot more fun to play, though they are not as serious or touching. He's just a goofball, and it's great fun to hang out with him and do all sorts of stupid stuff, whereas B has some real issues as she suffers from mental problems herself after being forced into a position to run the store and not being able to go to college. The problems that all of these characters face are real life and sometimes everyday problems, or down to earth, that many of us face ourselves. The fact that you are watching cute looking animals discuss these serious matters makes it all the more impactful. I cannot say that I completely identified with the character of May. She loves to, for example, steal stuff every now and then, but there were some similarities, and it also is nice that there were similar problems or issues with other characters that I could identify with. I have a bit the feeling though that there's a little too much focus on the rock-loving millennial group with all the characters in the game, but overall, there are probably points and stories to love for anyone who plays this. But can it actually be called a game, since most of the time you just walk around and talk to people? It's definitely 90% of the time you just read really written well dialogue, but where you do sometimes also get to choose an answer. But the gameplay gets introduced in fun little minigames that breaks the pace. Some of these minigames include band practice with the gang, where you play bass and it of course plays as a Guitar Hero minigame. The songs are all really nice and catchy, also having resulted in a lot of cool vocal covers on YouTube by fans. The music in general is absolutely stellar, with not only the rock songs during practice, but also the piano theme during daytime is just beautiful and atmospheric. Or some of the dream sections are incredible when it comes to their musical score. Other mini-games that you get to do are build your own action figure or try to throw and catch little pasta pierogis with your mouth. It's all super simple and adorable, but does work in making you a bit more engaged. The activities that you will be doing with your friends during the night sections might sometimes feel a bit mundane, with going to the mall, or the library, or to a party. But again, the excellent written dialogue makes it all worth it and makes you feel really invested into these characters. Every morning when I would wake up, I would be excited and curious on what new adventures or characters I would come across with May at my side. The town itself is just also so lovely and lively. As you walk next to the road, cars come by and pedestrians that are all unique looking. There are smaller critters walking around everywhere and the leaves fly up in the air as May walks by. It's very serene and therapeutic in a way. And then there's the murder mystery I talked about before, and I'm so happy that they included this in this game. Fairly early into the game, I would say maybe an hour in, you and the gang stumble on a severed arm. This comes out of nowhere and the local police keeps talking about strange things occurring and that there's something in the woods. Then for the next 3 hours or so, nothing ever weird happens again. It's just about you getting to learn all these characters. Maybe except in your nightmares though, where there's some weird stuff happening, but nothing that alludes to a murder of some kind. Then on Halloween night, which is called Harfest in the game, you spot a shadowy figure kidnap a kid and dragging it into the woods. The sound design and how this is all brought is very spooky and scary, and though there are no jump scares whatsoever in the game, it definitely made my skin crawl multiple times. From this point on, the mysterious figure and the murders do take more the foretone as you and your friends start an investigation on what is happening. On multiple occasions you will run into this mysterious figure again during the night, and time again I had goosebumps when these sections would happen. Really excellent and almost lets it feel like a quasi-horror game. The game takes twists and turns with the mysterious figure and eventually even leads towards a deadly cult of elders that sacrifice forgotten people by society to make the city prosper. The addition of this mystery is a very welcome one. I love detective games or stories about weird cults and how to stop them, and having this in the background made it just a tad bit more exciting and memorable. The real star of the game are of course its characters and their everyday struggles and problems, but if it was only that, it would maybe feel a bit bare bones and there would not be a particular goal or sense of direction. In the end, not all questions are answered, but you will still feel satisfied with the result. Besides the main characters you have to interact with, there are also a ton of side characters you can talk to that lead to special cutscenes and events. The game was also a lot longer than I thought and can easily take 8 hours or more depending on how much of the side content you do. You also cannot see all the events with the main cast since you have to choose who to spend the night with, and thus it gives a bit of room for replayability. Though I have been praising the game a lot, I can still say that it's definitely not a game for everyone. It is light on gameplay and maybe a bit too light for some. There's a lot of reading, that might not be for everyone, especially those who are looking for grander adventures than ones that are drenched in reality. If you like point and clicks, or more story-driven content, I can wholeheartedly recommend Night in the Woods. Though if you are the type that skips cutscenes or dialogues in RPGs or shooters, then stay the hell away from this. I had an excellent time with Night of the Woods, and it will be an experience that will be with me for a long time to come. If I had to critique some of it, it will be that there's a bit too much focus on the rock-loving millennials as mentioned before, meaning it kind of feels like it chooses the group in its society to stick its roots into. Also, not all events were all that engaging or interesting to me, though I spent a lot of time with B, and I just have to admit that Greg's events are a lot more fun and engaging overall. If you ever decide to play this game, I would definitely encourage you to seek out Greg a lot. In the end, Night in the Woods gets an 8.2. The main team that created this were only 3 people, and it shows what time, dedication, and love can create in a game. Having completed the game and putting it away makes it to where I kinda miss wandering through the little town and seeing how lively it is with all its pedestrians and little critters. Because of a tragic event that of course occurred last year, including one of the developers, it's unlikely we ever will see a follow-up on this. But in my opinion, this is a story and game that is worth experiencing at least once by everyone.